You mentioned earlier open source tools. So like what is the like good, better, best journey for someone who maybe you can afford the top-notch security tools and implementation tools for operations side as well, and maybe you can't. Like what does that look like across the board?
So you always scale your solutions with your business. If you are a small scale company, you've got 25 employees, you're gonna be able to do some really direct solutions that are going to give huge payoffs on your risk profile, on your risk posture. The number one thing that I cannot stress more is implement MFA. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's an app, doesn't matter if it's a text code, doesn't matter if it's your YubiKey. That is such a huge step in stopping an attacker. There are ways to get around most of the things I just said, like the SMS sniffing. That's going to get rid of your text code. Application, if your phone's compromised, you're getting a push notification, that can be a problem. But all of that is going to be better than basic authentication. As far as open source tooling and kind of how that journey goes is you generally will see new phases of technology. So I want to go from I have just endpoint detection to I want to do vulnerability management. Okay, well, dabble in the open source first. See if it's going to be what you're actually looking for. And then if you can implement a process around it, keep going with the open source tool. Most of those tools are pretty well kept up with by the vendor. Some vendors even offer a free version of their enterprise tool that you can just go out of the box and use. So a lot of times when people are like, oh, I can't afford that, there's a version of it out there that you can. Same thing with phishing. There are platforms like GoFish. From a vulnerability standpoint, there are scanners and things like Nessus that you can go out and really quickly set up and knock out some vulnerability information from. So open source is not all bad. A lot of people, whenever you get into a large enterprise, they really don't like that sound. They're like, oh, I want it to be licensed, the legal's gotta be happy, this is gonna be happy. That's true. None of those are wrong, but to show the proof of concept and the validity of the solution, open source will generally help out.
What about from an operations perspective? How do you guys go about choosing your vendors? Like you mentioned earlier, the YubiKey rollout. Like how did you land on YubiKey versus something else?
We'll do our own research, like Josh said, right? We'll go to the Gartner, who's the best in business for that different technology, go to the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and really do some self-researching. But we'll present our solutions and our ideas to Josh's team to see if it's a viable, secure solution before we start designing anything, right? So a lot of the times we're picking our own solutions, but we're definitely getting back in from security perspective to make sure, hey, is this a sound solution? Has this company faced any breaches lately? How they do their upgrades and stuff like that. So we do a lot of our back end research, but we definitely bring security team to kind of validate we can use it.
It goes back to that collaboration between the two teams, right? Security from the first, like always be considering it in your project. So that's great. You do have to do research, right? There's so many tools out there that you could be using for literally anything. There's so much technology.
And a lot of times you'll see it comes down to the implementation. I can have the most advanced lock on the planet, but if my key is straight smooth, what does it really do? Nothing. So a lot of times it comes down to the implementation. IT may pick a tool and say, this is the best in brand out there. Well, that's awesome. How are we gonna set it up? And that's where my team's gonna be a little bit more involved. They're gonna wanna see the exact policies, the exact configurations, the network segments that the tools will be touching to ensure that they're configured correctly. Just this morning, I did a review for a business server, and the number one concern was network visibility. So that's the number one thing I focused in on for the configuration.
I was in a meeting about password management, right? And a lot of the solutions does the same thing. And so sometimes it really comes down to how easy it is to implement and cost as well too. And so even though there's some solutions that do totally different things, there are solutions that do very similar things, and you kind of have to parse out the little details and picking the right solution for your needs.
Well, it sounds like it goes right with that business need of like, yeah, like it could be the best in the world, but if the cost is out of range for your business, then you can't consider it anyway. So you need to be looking at other things so that you can meet the needs of your business while also staying on budget. Because while no one wants to care about the budget numbers, we do kind of also have to care about the budget numbers.
Correct.
I make jokes really often that I don't make money, I spend money. Developers make money, marketing makes money, sales makes money. I can't stand in their way. And throughout this conversation, we've come back to the business need, the business. At the end of the day, that's what this is about, is we are all here to support the business, not the other way around. Yeah. A lot of times you'll see people, especially early on in a security career, want to lock everything down. They lock it down to the point that's not usable. Yeah. And we're here to enable the business to make money in the most secure way they can. And that's what I really would want to tell any up-and-coming security professional is focus on your business, focus on what's important to your business and securing that.
And as we invest in the business from a security standpoint, right, we listen to the business and you build that fortress around the business to protect it. We're protecting the people that's inside of it, and the weakest link of all security are the people, right? And so we need to invest in people with education, different trainings, different culture on why we're doing what we're doing. Because you could build the biggest fortress around a company. It just takes one person to open the door.
I was going to walk someone in.
Come on in, come on in, come to the party, right? And so there's a balance there as well, too. Yeah, as you're focusing on the technologies, we're focusing on the people aspect to make sure they are implementing or executing the best business practice we put in front of them.